Hello, and welcome to today's installment of Created for More the podcast. Boy, am I excited to be doing this podcast today. I have had the topic I'm going to be discussing on my mind for some time, and I thought, you know what? Now is a good time as any to bring it up and discuss it. I know it will be so helpful for you in your purpose work, in anything that you're doing that is meaningful to you. This comes up. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about naysayers. Somebody say that after me. Naysayers. You have them. I have them, we all have them, and it's high time we had a conversation about how to deal with naysayers in the right way. How should you perceive them? What should you be doing when they, come at you, which they often do? How do you manage yourself? Are some of the things I'm going to be touching on the podcast today. So I know it's going to be a great one. So make sure you sit in and listen. So first things first, I want to just kind of set the tone and the context by saying that naysayers are inevitable. If you're doing anything that has meaning, if you're doing anything that has a mission as aligned to it, you will have people who have contrary opinions, contrary views, and they will not hold back from sharing those views with you. And then it's up to you to plan or be prepared for it so that you can handle those views properly without letting it derail you. As you ascend, as you start to grow, you will have people who will form judgments and opinions about what you're doing. It will happen. And one thing I want you to know also is that you cannot carry everybody along. So if your thinking as you turned on this podcast, as you're listening in, is that I'm going to tell you exactly how to ensure that every naysayer is coming along on this journey with you, how to convince them, how to change their minds so that they understand, you can't. It's not for you to do. It's a losing battle. So I want you to have that in your mind right now. You cannot convince everybody. I've heard I've seen this on Instagram, or just making its way around on podcast, on WhatsApp memes, and they say when God called you, it was not a conference call. So you placing an expectation on others to completely get your assignment, and not only that, to be behind you 100% and support you in everything that you're doing, is an unrealistic expectation. Why? Because it was not their calling. They didn't see the vision that you have. They don't understand what you have been told in the fullness of it. As much as you try and communicate it to them, it was in your heart. It's given to you. So you are the only one, no matter how close others are to you, you are the only person who will fully understand it and be fully able to embrace it. And this thing that I'm saying has stopped so many women. And that's why it's so important. There are so many women who have had dreams, who have had plans, who have had, ideas, things that they're considering. And they've been stopped in their tracks because somebody said something, either didn't validate what they thought, what they wanted to do, or said something that was contrary to what they were thinking. And before you know it, they just dropped everything to do with that assignment. What a waste. What a waste. You listening to me, I want you to hear this, and I want you to hear this very clearly. You are not a circus monkey. You are not a show puppy. You know those ones that you just toss a few coins to and they start to do all these things and, do this choreography and they're just dancing and all these things just to excite you for the money that you're giving them. That is not you. You have been given a unique purpose and a unique assignment by your maker, and your job is to deliver on it. So when you waste your time trying to dance to somebody else's tune, trying to make sure that somebody else is happy with how you're showing up and making sure that you are curating how you're perceived by the world around you, you are wasting time, valuable time that could be spent towards more meaningful activities that serve the desires of your heart. I am not advocating that you turn naysayers into enemies. I'm not advocating that. That is not my stance. I am not saying that they should be at arm's length from you. That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that what is with you to control is how you react, how you deal with what they say. And that is well within your control. So I want you to get, more sound at understanding that if you allow naysayers derail you, you miss out. You miss out on this destiny assignment that will give you inner fulfillment. And most importantly, that will be recorded against you as fulfilling what you were sent to the world to do. I'll tell you a story. When I was in university, I had a friend of mine, a really, really close friend of mine. I went, and I've said this on the podcast a few times. I studied petroleum engineering for my first degree, completely misaligned to what I believe I've been called to do, but I believe that everything adds up. So I don't like to look at it as a time that I wasted. I know that I learned things there, met people there that, have added to me in some way, shape, or form. Right? That are helping me. In fact, I say that, and I'm saying I've added to one of my very best friends. In fact, some of my very best friends are friends that I met when I was in university, even till today. We maintain a really, really close relationship, and everything that I do, I see them as, a really core part of it. And if I didn't have that detour and go into the exact school that I went to and, did everything that I did, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. The things that I enjoy, the benefits that I now enjoy from meeting those people, I wouldn't have had. So that's just to say that everything adds to you somehow. All things indeed work together for good for you. Even the things that you don't believe to be working together for good are working together for good. Anyway, back to my story. I was on campus one day, and it was interesting. I think I was probably about in my fourth year. And she and I were having a conversation. Somehow it was one of those very deep, insightful or retrospective, we're just having like a deep meaningful conversation. And she was saying to me, about what she wanted to do in the future. This, my friend, is just really, really bright, just, the stereotypical, student engineer that goes on to just be this amazing career professional that is now a leader in the industry, that just stereotypical path, right? Obviously, even as far back as then, I knew that wasn't the path for me. But I didn't have that much conviction in it, because back then, you do what you're told to do. I was at university. I'd been told by I wanted to study something else, but somehow, I think I've said this on the podcast, and I also added, it's also in my book, but somehow I was filling in my forms, my university application forms, on the day that my uncle of blessed memory came to our home. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm filling university application forms." And he said, "For what? What are you going to study?" And I said, I want to do architecture." And he says, "Oh," I still remember, I was like, "Women don't do architecture." Well, he didn't say it in this accent. "Women don't do architecture. You're a woman. That's for men. They stand and all of that. That's not your thing. We're from the Niger Delta. Oh, do petroleum engineering." And literally that conversation sent my life. It was just like, there's this thing in petroleum engineering, they call it dog leg, when you're drilling and then you have to do like go on a sharp tangent. That was it for me, and it just sent my life on a dog leg. Again, what I learned in petroleum engineering, and I literally went on another tangent, right? On a tangent. So interrupting the podcast real quickly to bring you a short message from our sponsors, Linkage Assurance PLC. They're an insurance organization based in Nigeria that offer insurance services across a wide number of sectors. You want to check them out. They offer a great top-notch service. So they're particularly relevant for people who have business interests in Nigeria. So a product I would like to highlight today is from their motor insurance category. So in their motor insurance category, there's a third-party insurance plus product that provides insurance covers for the third-party vehicle if you were ever in an accident, as well as cover for your own vehicle as well at really affordable rates. You want to check them out and tell them that we sent you. Thank you very much. Now back to the podcast. So I was back to the story again. I keep going back, but I'll come back to it. Back to the story again. I was having this conversation with her, and I said to her, she said to me, oh, this is what I want to do, da, 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 da. And in that moment, bear in mind, I was a fourth year engineering student. I said to her, you know what I want to be when I grow up? This is what. I said, well, I want to be a radio presenter. It's funny now, listening to it now, thinking about it, because look at what I'm doing now on this podcast with you. I said, I want to just have meaningful conversations. I want to be a radio. And there was this guy on the radio back then. His name is Dan Foster. When we're growing up back in Nigeria, he was such a rich, alive character, just a rich personality, big personality on the radio. And everyone used to tune into him. It was Cool FM. I can never forget. I loved Dan Foster. I think he's passed on now. Bless his soul. I just want to be like, I love the way Dan Foster communicates with people and everything. She just looked at me. I can never forget it. And she says, don't you think that you are better than that? And obviously she was speaking from her perspective, her own limited view. What she knew was what had been told to her, that there was just one path indeed, that we were all meant to go through school and come back. And that was the hierarchy of life. Like if you go through school, come out of school, you find a job and then you rise up, through the ranks into leadership, and then maybe you retire at an old age, and that's you. That's what success meant to her. And that was her perspective. And instantly, as she said that, I can remember, I can even still remember how I felt, and just how I just felt small. And my body just shrunk. I just felt like, oh gosh, like, oh my goodness, yes, maybe I am thinking too small. Maybe, being a talk show host is not a big enough ambition for somebody who has graduated through school. In this day, I can tell you categorically now, first of all and foremost, that the thing that most people want now in this day and age is actually building a personal brand. So those conventional career paths, so if you think about all the Elon Musks and all these people that are doing great things, a lot of them are doing great things, not because they've worked in all these companies and they've done all this and they've risen through the ranks. Why? They're doing great things, or they're known rather, because they managed to build a personal brand that has value, that is recognizable, that distinguishes them from others, and they've been able to convert into currency. So far back then, my mind was envisioning something that was bigger than me, something that I hadn't seen many people around me do. I wanted this personal brand. That's what I was saying. I want to build a personal brand. I want to shortcut all of this working thing, build a personal brand, monetize myself, and reach the world doing good. That's what I was saying. What am I doing now? So it's interesting that just that comment caused me to just retreat. And the thing is, you who are listening to me, I'm sure you've had your own moments. Maybe this week, maybe last week, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe when you were 20, maybe when you were 10 years old, you've had an idea, you've had a vision, you've had something that someone has just come and it's literally planting seeds of doubt in your fields of dreams, in this place where, is sacred. You've allowed people come and put their doubt, and this doubt has taken root. And because of that, you have not arisen into your fullest potential. So the first thing I want you to know about naysayers is who they are. Yeah? Naysayers are actually come to prove your conviction. They are not there because on the surface of things it might look as if, they are here, because they're saying these things because they don't like me, they're saying these things because they don't believe in me, and all these things that, are just surface stuff. But what I want to do is borrow your eyes so that we can go down a few layers. The truth about naysayers is that it's a war of conviction. Naysayers have a conviction in their heart somewhere. Like my friend said, don't you think you are better than this? That was her conviction. My own conviction, which should have been stronger, was this is who I am. This is where I want to head in my life. So imagine if I had started doing a lot of the things that I'm doing now, but started doing it, I don't want to date myself here, but like a good 20 years or so ago when I came out of, university. Imagine. So I've ended up going through the ranks, doing what she said, going through university, coming out, getting a job, doing all these things, eventually to find out, 2020 set me on a reset path. And I said to myself, when the pandemic happened, I'm not fulfilled. There is something inside my soul that is not fulfilled. I want more. And that's what's led me down this path. So I've been doing this now for about 3 years, thereabouts, and there is nothing that brings me as much joy, as much fulfillment as the work that I do now. So imagine if somehow I had started it ages ago. But back to what I was saying. Naysayers should be seen for who they are. Beyond or beneath the surface of what they are saying. Who they are people who have been put there on purpose to prove your conviction that this thing that you say, this thing that you profess, do you really believe it? Or are you just saying it? What are you going to do to stand by your conviction? So you think it's just them saying stuff and it's you feeling bad when you don't know that it's belief, conviction that is fighting against each other. And the people who succeed in holding fast are the people who have a higher conviction than the conviction that was sown in their field of dreams. The level of your belief in yourself must be higher than the belief other people have that you should not be doing that thing. That's the only way that you are going to win this. So naysayers are people who have been sent to show, to check. Do you really believe this thing? And everybody has, if you think about the Bible, every single person has been naysayers. I was reading the Bible this morning and I was reading the story in Exodus. And in chapter 7, where the Bible talks about, this was after God and Moses had gone back and forth, and God had said, had given him this assignment, this is what you're meant to do. And Moses had gone. Pharaoh had said, hey, you people, you're coming to ask to let my people go. You people, you'll suffer more. Oh yeah, in fact, double their suffering. Let them make these bricks without straws because they have time. That's why they're doing all these things. And Moses was just like scared, like, oh my goodness, God. The people of Israel blamed Moses. Moses blamed God. So this was second attempt. Moses was going again, the second time. And then God said to him, look, go, right? Again. And this time go with Aaron. And Pharaoh is going to ask you to show him a miraculous sign, to prove to him that indeed this your God that you profess is true. Tell Aaron to throw the staff on the floor and it's going to turn into a snake. And that was what he did. And if you think about it, the Bible also then talks about how God says, I have hardened Pharaoh's heart. Why did God harden Pharaoh's heart? Why did God harden Pharaoh's heart? You might think that, he hardened Pharaoh's heart because, he just wanted to do all these great things, which, yes, he wanted to do, show that, it was great. But he hardened Pharaoh's heart because he wanted Moses to rise. Moses' conviction in him to rise. So the point I'm making here is that some of these naysayers that have been around you, their job is to make the level of the conviction that you have in yourself rise. So don't hate them. They are the ones that have come to make a truth teller out of you. When you speak and your words are mixed, they are shaky. They're saying, yes, I can do it, but what if I don't do it? Naysayers, when they appear, their job, they've been planted there, I dare say, by God, to help you believe, to help burn the doubt, so that truth, like gold, when gold is being refined, so that the truth and the substance that you carry and the belief in your conviction can shine through everything. Naysayers are filters. They burn out the impurities. So the next time a naysayer says something and you find yourself retreating, I want you to look inwards. I want you to look at yourself and say, what is the part of me that is not yet convinced about this thing that I've been asked to do? And what do I need to do to myself, not to them, to myself, to ensure that I believe more in this thing that I have been given to do? Because that is the only way. Your belief must be so solid that regardless of what people say, you are still on your path. Naysayers are family, naysayers are friends, naysayers are colleagues, they are everywhere. Sometimes it's a word that they say that just spoils things for you. Sometimes they even say good things, but they say it in a condescending way. Sometimes, guess what? They don't even say anything at all. And for some people, that's even more hurtful. Can't you see all these things I'm doing? You can't even acknowledge. You are not a show monkey. You are not a show monkey. Your job is not to perform so that people will clap for you. That's not your job. Your job is to do what you've been sent to do and change the lives that you've been sent to change. You're not a show monkey. Worry about your assignment. Let them worry about their own. Okay? Let me tell you the trajectory, right, of naysayers. And this is how most of them go. And but the challenge is that you will meet them at varying stage. So each of the stages that I mentioned here, you will meet in your life now, you'll be able to say, oh, this person is at this stage. And I hope, as I say it, it just makes it clear. This is a 5-step, it's called the 5 stages of influence. And it was shared on my platform by a lady called Just eBay. I love it. I love it. So every time I have an opportunity to share with my people, I do. And I'll share this now because I know it will help you. 5 stages of influence. The first stage is agitation. And most naysayers, most people that you know, particularly in your tribe, outside your tribe, actually, this is more people that you know, not the ones that you don't know. It's agitation. When you start talking and you start saying all these things that you want to do, all these great things, they become agitated. Like, oh my goodness, like, who gives her the authority? Who gives her the authority? How dare she says that she wants to help women now and in the future? Does she know her age? That's what they'll say. They're agitated. Why? Because a lot of them, and this is what you don't understand. Sometimes these things that they say, it's not about you. It's about them. A lot of them, there is this thing that makes them feel as if as you're rising, it's almost like an indictment to them. You're doing all these things. Oh God, I wish I could be that audacious as well. But instead of saying it, they say something else. So that's why we don't worry about what's said. We look at levels down what it means. Okay? The first stage is admiration. The second stage is observation. Sorry, the first stage is agitation. The second stage is observation. And observation is when they're now a bit more keen. So they pass the hyperventilation stage when they see you doing stuff. Now they're observing you a bit with a bit more keenness. It looks like this girl is a bit serious. Hey, now wow, she hasn't stopped. 2 years, she's still been podcasting. Hey, now wow. The third stage is admiration. Guess what? They come around. So if you had stopped doing what you were sent to do because you felt that it wasn't the thing you should be doing, guess what? You've been dog-legged. You've been dog-legged. So they eventually start admiring you. They start telling other people that, hey, do you know this person? I know them. Oh, look at all these amazing things they're doing. And they might not tell you. They might not tell you. So you remember, you are not a show puppy. You are not a show monkey. That's not your business. Whether or not they validate you, it's not your business. The fourth stage is respect. After they've admired you, they now start to respect you. Oh, yeah. And respect only comes when they see that your conviction is strong. They will not respect you. But each time they speak and you retreat, you are winding back. It's like a cycle. You're going back. You're making this whole process longer. And the final stage is influence. And that is when you can actually influence them. So a lot of times we are wanting to influence people that have not been through this loop. And you're wondering why they're saying these things. Why they don't see that you are serious. Why they don't see the greatness that lies within you. Why would they? Why would they? You can't circumvent the process. The final thing I want to leave with you, or 2 things I'm going to leave you with, the final 2 key things I'm going to leave with you, is another 5 loop. And I call this one the 5 stages of transformation. And this is now about yourself. Remember I said there is the naysayers and then there's the work that you have to do with yourself. So if you understand how you transform, you understand how the evolution of yourself, particularly when you are birthing something new, it'll be easier for you to manage the expectations you have of yourself and those around you. So the first stage of transformation, and this I created myself through inspiration by God, is awareness. This is an awareness to something more in you. There's this thing that is just, I'm keenly aware that there's more on the inside of me. The second stage is rationalization. And rationalization is the most important stage. Not most, or the second most important stage. This is the strengthening of your conviction, the strengthening of your belief in yourself. If you have an awareness of this thing you want to do and your conviction is not strengthened, the second somebody just even breathes in your direction, you lose composure. Rationalization. The third stage is what I call demonstration. So you start to walk. Again, you've built you've had an awareness. This is the thing I want to do. Your conviction has been strengthened. The third stage is that you now start doing the thing. You start doing the thing. And this is where most people get it wrong. They're doing the thing and they expect that nothing will happen, no challenge. Who promised you that life? Who promised you that nobody will come and challenge you? Even Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Jesus, Almighty Jesus was challenged when he came out of the wilderness. In the wilderness, after his 40 days fasting, he was challenged. If you really say you're the Son of God, did this, what do you think that was? As a naysayer. Why didn't he say, why? Because the strength of his conviction. He had rationalized. He had known. He had built, understood what he had been sent for. The next one is contention, right? And contention is this stage that most people lose it. Contention is when naysayers will come. Contention is when you get massive challenges, when things don't work, when everything just feels like it's falling apart, and then instantly you start to dial back and say, perhaps this is not what I was meant to do. Nobody promised you that life. That thing that you believe in, it must be tested. If not, we don't really know what it is. That's your purpose. We don't know if it's true or not. If you feel like you've not faced any contention, I dare say that your purpose needs to be checked properly. Because it must come. By those close to you, by those far from you, by the world, those who don't know you, everybody, it must come. Proper challenges must come. And when you are able to pass through that contention, is the final stage of ascension. And that is when you rise into your next level. These 5 stages, it's like a continuous loop. You get to this next level. For instance, let's assume this next level. You go through the 5 stages again to get to the next level. You get to this level, you go another awareness, you go through the 5 stages again before you build. This is it. This is the story of everyone's life. Okay? So, things that I want you to do going forward. The first thing with naysayers, recognize them. Now we know. You've listened to this podcast today. There's no more excuse. You now know. You are aware to who naysayers are and what they've come for. Listen without emotional investments. That's the second thing. Don't put your eggs. You're not a show monkey. Listen without emotional investment. Detach yourself. Decouple how you feel from what they say. It's easier said than done, but it must be done. Listen and understand that what they say, they are not your gods. They've come to just do what they are doing so that it tests what you believe. So don't let it drag you down. Don't let it be an anchor. The third thing is take what they've come to teach you about what you believe. Change what needs to change. Refine what you believe and how you feel on the inside. Yeah? And then the final thing, number 4, is let them be. Let them be. Don't try and convince everybody. It's not a conference call. Don't try and start calling everybody and saying, oh, by the way, this is my calling, please be on side with me. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. You answer to an audience of 1. You answer to an audience of 1. On that day, last day, it will call you and to give account. They will not call 10 people to give account for you. You answer for an audience of 1. I want you to remember that. Okay? Thank you so much, so much for listening to this podcast today. I want you to do me a favor. Send this podcast to at least 10 people that you know who need this. Those that have told you they need it and those that haven't said as well. The second thing I want you to do after listening to this podcast, I want you to rate and rate and leave a comment. If you listen on iTunes, listen on Spotify, leave a comment. It helps us on this ratings. If you are watching this on YouTube, subscribe. It helps to get this message out to more people who need it. My name is Tombra Nwoswago, and it's been an absolute pleasure to serve you on this podcast today. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care.